All right. Well, first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure and a privilege to be on your show today.
I know we're recording this.
Obviously,
We're recording this. First of all, we just had to say how you doing. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ellis. We appreciate you having you with us. Like we talked about before, the reason we wanted to bring you on was to talk about your book, The Keys to Success, GPS My Success. With this pandemic going on and attitudes and somewhat these times and how people can be a little bit thrown off.
Just the hopelessness that's out there. You know, it's a lot of weighty situations going that people are dealing with the pandemic and as the backdrop. But before we get started on the topic, let's start by first having you introduce yourself, because we know you as to having a mentorship with Realestste Brown and your book and some other things. But we want you to get your opportunity to first introduce yourself.
all right. Well, first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure and a privilege to be on your show today.
I know we're recording this. We're recording this.
So obviously, my name's Karim Ellis, motivational speaker, teacher, trainer, #1 breakthrough strategist and coach. And I have been a successful entrepreneur for close to 20 years at this stage in the game. So yes, Mr. Brown is my current mentor in this stage of the game. I'm also a certified John Maxwell leadership trainer. So with those two different credentials alone, I have been invited into multiple different arenas, multiple different households, multiple different organizations, from General Electric to Honda to Toyota to Ford to, there's just so many places at this point in time that I've been blessed to come forward and teach principles like the principle we're going to talk about today, which is GPS My Success. And it's so crucial because the address determines the destination. Facts about it. The principles I give in this book are principles I actually utilize and live every single day. Because one of the things I tell people, a GPS is useless until you decide to give it an address. Keyword is you. So the question being, as we leave 2020 and jump into 2021, where in the world do you want to go?
Okay. I'm glad you started there, because when you said give it an address, I wrestled with that first chapter, giving it an address, because in theory, I can tell you that personally, I have said I want to be a billionaire, or I want these goals and attain these goals. And yet, as you were speaking about it in terms of setting the address, it resonated, because I was like, am I just saying it, or did I actually put that into like you type it into the GPS, like you put it in perspective, and this is where I'm going. So kind of talk to that, because I was like, so it's like somebody that says, well, I know what I want to do, but how do I make that go into programmed into that first step into my GPS?
That's a really, really good question. So first of all, one of the lessons I learned over just 20 years of experience in the game is where your energy goes, your focus flows. I'm going to say that again. Where your energy goes, your focus flows. And so the problem, most of us, we have what I call a focus disconnect. Okay. We have a focus disconnect, which means as we get ready to jump into 2021, the ritual for most of the people in this country is to get up and make a list of New Year's resolutions.
Right.
New Year's resolutions. Right. They're going to write down everything they want to do, everywhere they want to go, the person they want to be, the amount of money they want to have. And the number one thing that stops people is what I call, and what Mr. Brown has taught me, are what we call weapons of mass distraction. I'm going to say that again. Weapons of mass distraction. So, in other words, let's say I get up and my job is to go to the gym this morning, okay? And I put the address inside the GPS, and the GPS gives me crystal clear instructions on how to get from where I am to where I want to go. The key problem is this: I can get in the car, I can make my way towards the destination, I can follow every single instruction and rule to get there. But if I decide that I go past my local donut shop and I can smell those fresh hot donuts and I decide to make a detour, That's on me, not the GPS. What happens with most people is they create success mindsets of what they want to have at the beginning of the year, but they don't keep their energy focused on the result. And in doing so, they get distracted. They get pulled off to the right, they get pulled off to the left, and before they know it, that goal, that dream, that vision has been thrown away by February 1st. There was a study that said out of 100 people that have New Year's resolution goals, most people threw them out the window by February 1st because they allowed themselves to get distracted. So what are the key reasons why having a GPS is so crucial to your success? You can't really plot a vision unless you know where you're going. So let me give you a couple examples. Number one, until I know where I want to go, I don't even know what type of education I need for the journey. From kindergarten to 12th grade, I didn't have any say over the education I received. It was already pre-formulated and laid out for me. If I went to college, again, I really didn't have the ability to decide what I was going to be taught to get my degree. When I GPS my success, if I know my goal is, like you said, to make $1 million, okay, that means all the education I should be studying should be in relation to getting $1 million. That means I shouldn't be spending my time on anything that's miscellaneous or what I call distractive reading. The second thing I'll say is if I know where I'm going, that lets me know what I should be doing with my money. I tell people money is one of the most valuable tools to create success. But how many people get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month if they're salaried? And because they're not aimed at anything, that money goes out the window just as quickly as it comes through the door. And one of the reasons I built my business so quick and so fast is once I got anchored on where I'm going to, it let me know what I should be doing with my paycheck, the amount of money what I should be doing with my money when it comes back in off of business revenue. It gives me new insight and wisdom. Let's give another example. Let's talk about the relationships we entice, because a lot of times I tell people we got to stop living by default. We got to learn how to live by design. Default means I just embrace anyone. If you look cool and I think you cool, I shake your hand, we switch phone numbers, and before I know it, we're kicking it together. We're friends, we're buddies. You coming over to watch the game, I'm going to your house for the fight party. But if I know where I'm going, if I know my goal is to be a paid professional motivational speaker that's going to travel all over the world, impact lives, and change people for the better, that means I got to be selective over who I want to hang with, who I want to run with, the coaches, the mentors I want to connect with. Everything changes when I know what address is inside the GPS, because at that moment, if I'm serious and I'm clear, I stop living by default, and every move I make is by design.
My question is there a step prior to plugging in the address? Because some people may still be just stuck at deciding where I want to go. I don't even know what address to put in because I don't know where I want to go. So how do you get past? Because I think you mentioned that too, talking about purpose, figuring out purpose.
Okay, gotcha. So there's two ways I can approach this, right? Because I know your listeners come from a wide, diverse background. So I can go the religious route, or I can go the worldly route. With the religious route, I'm going to simply say that when God put me here, He put me here for a purpose. So one of my favorite scriptures from the Book of Life says, "Write the vision and make it plain." That means that while I'm here on this planet, there's something I'm supposed to be going after on a daily basis. Not once a month, not once a year, not once a decade, not once every 20 years. That means every day there's something I should be trying to go after on a regular basis. Now, the issue being is it's up to me to obviously discover that purpose. One of the ways you discover purpose very quickly is to take a look at yourself internally, meaning what are my gifts, what are my talents, and what is my expertise? Because I'm a strong believer that whatever God puts you here for, whatever your purpose is, you've already been equipped for it. You have already been equipped for it. This goes back to the conversation between education versus gifts and talents. I tell people all the time, my favorite animal in the world is a cheetah. And a cheetah is one of the only creatures on this planet designed to run 70 miles per hour. And the thing that blows my mind about a cheetah didn't have to go to school and get a college degree to learn how to run 70 miles per hour. That gift and talent was ingrained in his DNA the moment it popped onto this planet. So for most of us, we got to spend some time figuring out, number one, what's our gift? What's the thing we're sitting on that God gave to us when we came fresh out the womb that we most likely have been using in our childhood? It's just when we hit adulthood, a lot of times we don't see the value in that gift. And so we voluntarily take that gift and we place it on a shelf where it begins to collect dust and rust, not understanding the gift is the very thing that makes you an alpha in life's chase. So if I can discover my gift and talent, 9 times out of 10, my purpose, what I've actually been put here for, is somewhere right there in the shadows of it. It's right there in the shadows of it. So number one, I'm going to figure out what's my gift and talent. What have I been given that no one else has similar to me. And then number two, a lot of times you can figure out your purpose by who God strategically places you alongside of. What I've learned from most people that are great, greatness surrounds itself with greatness. I'm going to say that again. Greatness surrounds itself with greatness. You don't see too many A-plus winners hanging around a pack of losers. So the question being is, in this season, what person of influence are you currently gravitating towards, or who are you shadowing on a regular basis? Because a lot of times, the calling on that person's life is a foreshadow to what your calling is supposed to be. What books are you drawn into? What programs are you watching? What videos and insight and wisdom are you getting from knowledge bases such as YouTube? Because a lot of what you're studying is designed to try to bring what's inside out to the forefront and on that battlefield. So for me, that was the number one way I figured out what my purpose was. I knew I was a gifted communicator. I knew I got in trouble for talking too much when I was in school. And I just love to just run my mouth all the time. The issue being is, could I identify that gift and merge a mixture of discipline with it? So I can talk about things that elevate people and escalate people versus the conversations that tear people down.
Okay, awesome. That does narrow it down, because I'm looking at what am I good at, and what I like, and then that's when I start to develop that address where I want to go. Okay.
Absolutely. You will typically be drawn to certain arenas, and you can't even figure out why you're drawn to it. There's certain aspects that just spark your heart, spark your creativity, spark your imagination. And a lot of times, you can't figure out why you're drawn to it. A lot of times, that's your purpose acting as a magnetic pole, pulling you in the right direction. The problem being is we surround ourselves with people that become our comfort zone. So it's oftentimes hard to feel that magnetic pull yanking me in the right direction if I'm spending all my time hanging around what I call bottom feeders. Those are folks that don't do anything with their life, have no desire to do anything with their life. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want to be motivated. They don't want to be stimulated. In fact about it, if they see you starting to lean to the left like you're going to escape the comfort zone, they'll do whatever they can to say something to discourage you, to pull you back and to hold you down. Because if you change for the better, one powerful lesson is always taught. That means I got the ability to change for the better too. And now I got to understand my life is not predestined as so to be a loser or to suck at the game of life. It means that I can get behind the driver's wheel and stop calling out shotgun, get the keys, and jump into the driver's seat and actually be in control of what happens in my life.
Okay. I wanted to ask you something. When I was reading the preface, just crazy question. How did the preface come about? Because I know that Les Brown wrote it, right? So I mean, how did that dialogue happen? You know, hey, you write this for me, or he says, you know what I'm saying? I was just curious how, because I enjoyed that piece, but I was just curious how it came about.
So one of the things I've learned from Les is the most expensive capital in the world, the most valuable capital in the world is relationship capital. Right. People think the most valuable money in the world is gold dinars or gold bricks or rubies and diamonds. No, the most expensive, powerful capital in the world is relationship capital. So success will always be 50% what you know, 50% who you know, and more importantly, what do they know about you? Because I can shake a lot of hands, but if you don't do a good job of letting me know what you do exceptionally well, I may have tons of opportunities I can plug you in at, but I can't plug you in because I don't know enough about you besides your first and last name. So the principle of GPS My Success, that's twofold. Number one, it came from one of my favorite scriptures in the book of life: write the vision and make it plain. A GPS is a vision machine. I give it an address. It has one job to do, to show me how to get from where I am to wherever I want to be on the planet. So when I decided I need Les Brown as a mentor, or want him as a mentor, I followed the same strategy. I put the destination in, how do I get Les Brown to become a personal mentor? I ended up going to one of his venues. There was a huge contest, and there were 13 contestants. I was blessed to be one of them. I spoke on the stage. I gave a very, very, very creative speech that I had created the night before at midnight, and the speech was so powerful, it caught his attention. One of the things I tell people all the time, your gifts will make room for you and put you before powerful people. Now, notice, I said your gifts will make room for you. I didn't say your education. I didn't say your money. I didn't say this sexy bald head. I didn't say this award-winning smile. I didn't say the six-pack abs for the women out there. I didn't say your 36, 24, 36. I said your gifts will make room for you and put you before powerful people. That means there's certain doors you will never get access to until you discover your gift and walk in your gift. And so that day was a transition. It was a defining moment for me because I used my gift. I caught his attention as a speaker, and then the rest was history. So we went from mentorship to friendship. And I said something earlier about relationship capital. When you have relationship capital, you can call up someone like a Les Brown and say, hey, would you mind doing the foreword for this book? And then getting that type of result. So it wasn't something that happened overnight. A lot of folks don't understand. I've been listening to Les Brown since the age of 8. I'm 44 years old.
Right.
I have grown up on Les Brown. What I told you earlier about your purpose, I didn't realize at the age of 8, and I sat in Dad's Cadillac, and he popped the cassette tape in, you gotta be hungry. You know, it's
gotta be hungry.
I mean, at the age of 8, I'm sitting in the back seat listening to all this stuff, and the thing that got me was Les's contagious laugh, right?
Yeah.
Les's laugh can just make you laugh no matter where you are.
Right.
I didn't know that that was a seed of my purpose, my destiny, my calling being ingrained in me at the age of 8. But every time Dad would pop on a cassette tape, I would lean in a little bit. I would know the joke before the joke came. I would know when that cackle would come before the cackle would come. So this is what I mean. What you're designed to do, you've been prepped for it all your life. It's a matter of if you were willing to let go of what you think you know and let your purpose come out and carry you to where you're supposed to be at. So sitting here in the year 2020, he does the foreword for the book. I've been able to speak and travel on stage with him, obviously, in and out of the country. It's been a wonderful, wonderful journey, a wonderful, wonderful experience. But that, in a nutshell, is how that took place. It took place by me saying, this is the person I want. This is the address in the GPS. Now let's follow the steps, boom, 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 to get this powerful result.
Okay. Now, before we go on to, because it's 6 steps or is it 5?
It's 6 steps, but one of the steps is broken in 2.
Okay.
It's 6 steps, but one's broken in 2.
So we at number 1. So before we before we go on to the other 5,
yes.
How do you get rid of that negative mentality or that me? How do you get out of yourself or out of your way? Because a lot of times I know what I like to do, but I'm afraid or I'm hesitant or I've never seen it. You talk about being around positive people. Well, I don't have that in my circle. I'm not as hungry as Les Brown or Karim. I got a little desire, but how do you really get past that negativity?
So that is an excellent question. I'm so glad you asked me that. I want everyone to know simply this: everything starts as a thought. And another scripture from the book of life I love so much says, "Thoughts are things." That means we have to either protect our thoughts or we have to control our thoughts. So put it this way: when I decided I want to speak professionally, a lot of people don't realize this. I'm an introvert. The last thing in my mind is getting on the stage in front of 8, 10, 12,000 people and giving a keynote speech. I'm an introvert by nature. I was talkative, but very, very quiet and shy around other people. So what I had to do is I had to, number one, control my thought center. This is where all your greatness comes from. It's not education. It's not your good looks. It's not your physique. It's not your build. It's not your money. Thoughts are things. So I must, number one, be willing to program my subconscious mind for the things that I want. And most people don't do this. This goes back to default living versus design. When I live on default, I let the world program my thoughts. One of the things I asked the students at Northern Kentucky University, I said, if I show a hand, how many people here watched the Super Bowl this past year? And almost every hand in the room went up. I said, name me one commercial you remember. And a bunch of hands went up. And I said, out of all these commercials you saw, you understand that these advertisers are willing to spend a minimum of $5 million on a 30-second commercial. And the room got quiet. I said, why would they do that? Why would they spend $5 million on a 30-second commercial just for your time? And I got a bunch of questions. I got a bunch of answers, rather, but none of them were right. I said, the reason why they're going to spend that much money, in addition to the fact that the whole world is watching this broadcast, is because they're trying to program your subconscious mind. We want you to believe that we make the best beer. We want you to believe that we make the best car. We want you to believe that we make the best watch. We want you to believe all these things. And the more I keep playing this into your presence again and again and again, you begin to believe it. Because we have 2 parts to our mind. We have the conscious mind that's alert and aware, can see everything around us at all times.
And then the subconscious.
But we also got the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind never sleeps. It never shuts down. It's always absorbing information. It's always absorbing knowledge. It's always absorbing opinions, okay? And then turning them into facts in our mind. And so the idea being, for me and for many folks out there, anything that you have right now, first thought is, the first came into your existence is a thought. You thought about it. And the more you thought about it, it turned into a desire. The more intensely you have that desire, it turns into a burning obsession. And anything you obsess over, you're going to go after it. You're going to go after it. So the key for anyone who says, man, I don't have access to Les Brown. I'm not around a bunch of motivational, inspirational friends. That's fine. But you still have control over what you decide to watch every single day. You still have control over what you decide to read every day. You still have control over whether you want to get on YouTube and watch foolish videos or knowledge videos. But the choice is all up to you. But what goes in is what's going to come out, which is why Scripture tells us to guard our eyes and guard our ears, because that's the gateway to the mind. That means I have the ability, just like programming a GPS, I got to program my mindset to get the results I want. But it starts out by feeding myself, first and foremost, the right thoughts. I got to feed myself the right thoughts.
That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. So that would
step two.
That would help change your mindset. So what is step two?
So step one was setting the address. Step two is moving with clarity. And one of the things I love about a GPS will give me instructions not only in real time, but they're clear. I'm 44 years old, so I've been around long enough to remember the MapQuest days. MapQuest where you needed instructions someplace and you typed it in the computer and you printed out 15 sheets of paper, right? Yeah. And the worst thing that can happen is you drive and miss your turn and have to reverse engineer how to get back from where you came from, right? So with GPS, it gives you instructions in real time. So the beautiful thing about moving with clarity, the more clear you are about what you want, the easier it is for you to recognize it and recognize the opportunity. When I went on that stage many years ago and got a chance to speak in front of Les Brown, I was clear on why I was there. The other 12 contestants were not. The other 12 contestants were just trying to get up there and give a speech. My speech was designed to get his attention to say, that's my next mentor on this journey. My speech has to get only one person in this room with 400 people, his attention. So I went in there with clarity. I knew exactly what I was doing. The more clear you are, the easier it is to know where you're going. Let me give you a base example. When I give my GPS instructions to go downtown Cincinnati from where I live at, it's going to tell me that I'm going to make a right turn. I'm going to get on Ronald Reagan Highway West. I'm going to drive that for about 7 minutes. I'm going to merge on the I-75 South. I'm going to drive that for another 15 minutes, get in the left-hand lane, get off of exit 4, boom, I'm downtown. I mean, those instructions are so simple. Even the dumbest person can figure this out, right? But what if my GPS did this? What if I said, GPS, I want to go downtown? It said you're going to make a left-hand turn. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go right. And then you're going to get on Ronald Reagan East. No. West. Go west. And then you're going to drive it for about 8 to 15 minutes. And then when you get to the fork of the road, I want you to pull off to the side, and I'll catch back up with you and let you know what to do next. I mean, if my GPS gave me the instructions as convoluted, as confusing as that, I'm going to take that GPS and hurl it out the window. Because there's no way in the world I can follow instructions that don't make any sense. The reason why most people don't chase their goals and dreams once they put the address in the GPS, they're still moving in a place and space of confusion. They're confused about what the object of their desire looks like. That's one of the reasons why a GPS can speak audio to you, but it also has a visual where you can look at the little car on the road and see where you're going, right? More people pay attention to what they see than what they hear. So that means I have to have a base idea of what my goal and dream looks like, what that destination looks like. And I should be programming my subconscious mind every morning by physically looking at that item. First thing I get up several times throughout the day, and it should be the last thing I think about after I say my prayers and lay it down for the night.
Okay, awesome. That's huge. Imagining what it looks like, because you got to see it in order. You got to see it in order to believe it. But absolutely. But you got to believe it in order to see it, though, too.
That's true. Okay. But here's the thing: so we're walking in the world of faith. Because remember something: the Scripture tells us that without faith, it's impossible to believe. Faith is the belief in things hoped for but not seen. Every time you put an address in your GPS and you go someplace you've never been to before, by faith, by blind faith, you believe that GPS is going to take you the right way and not the wrong way. So we can't achieve big things without the power of faith. It's impossible to do so.
It's impossible to please God. That's awesome.
Well, I'm saying so that would go speak to visualization, affirmations, vision boards, stuff like that. Is that what?
Absolutely. Because the goal here is to program the subconscious mind. What most people do is this: they have an idea of what they want, but it's confused and vague. And so the opportunity of a lifetime could be sitting right next to them. But because they're not clear what it looks like, they can't even recognize the opportunity is literally 2 feet away. And so the opportunity shoots right past them. And they go, I'm waiting on my lucky break. If you were programmed properly to understand what you're looking for this week, you would have saw it before the rest of the masses saw it. That means you're walking in confusion.
Okay. So I hate to reiterate the point, but name some other items that you could say that would provide that clarity. Because you're saying so I know I'm not missing it. You know, I'm sitting right here next to the guy I'm supposed to be, you know, probably breaking bread with, starting a conversation. Maybe I flipped through past the job that was the job that was the next move for me, because I didn't know that I was looking for it. How do I we did talk about creating vision boards. We talked about affirmations. We talked about even Googling things that I want a boat, then I need to be Googling boats. What size boat? You know, is it going to be a yacht? Is it going to be a speedboat? You to be on that pursuit looking, if that's what it is. But what you say, what some things are to provide that clarity.
Okay. So some of the things I'll add on, because you named a lot of them. So some of the things I'll add on is, who do I know that actually has the very thing that I want?
Okay.
I'm amazed how many times we leave that out the picture. Jim Rohn says your life will mirror that of the 5 people you hang with the most, right? Again, it's default versus design. For everyone out there that says they got a goal and dream, it's a tangible goal and dream, and you don't have it, who's the 5 you hanging with in this season? Because I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, you hanging around 5 people that mirror your comfort zone, but they don't have what it is you want.
Right.
So you got to be willing to step out your comfort zone and find five people that already are either walking in the arena you want, have the thing you want, or you can sit down with them on a regular basis. Because our minds are designed to create a comfort zone no matter where we go. Now, we can make the decision on what that comfort zone looks like. In other words, I can hang around 5 bums on the street. What happens is I become bum number 6. Or I can hang around 5 millionaires out there in the street, and I become millionaire number 6. I have to be selective over who I'm choosing to hang with, who I'm choosing to shadow, what circles I want to integrate. And when it comes to things like cars and stuff like that, what you got to do is you got to start taking some of those things for a test drive. You got to start claiming stuff you don't have like it's already yours. So before I got my dream car, which is a Porsche, I was actually test driving Porsches. I was actually finding folks that own Porsches and going up to them, man, I'll give you $20, let me sit inside the car. You ain't got to give me the keys, I ain't going to take off with your car, but let me just sit inside the car, take a picture of myself inside the car so I can visualize myself in the place, in the space, already owning it, claiming it, believing it. The power of the subconscious mind and the power of the imagination are some of the most dominant things that you can take control of. The problem with most of us, we don't realize how powerful these things are, so we trade them for less than they're true worth. I know people that made mega organizations wealthy beyond imagination because they took their imagination, gave them an award-winning product or prize, and traded it for a paycheck where that company took that item and made billions of dollars on the back end. Because they didn't realize the power of controlling their thoughts, their imagination, how they program their subconscious mind. So the one key element I'll throw in there is what I just said. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you hanging around people strategically that have what you want? Because it's very hard for you to go back to stinking thinking when all your friends is driving the cars that you want, and you the person riding around in that clunker that's making all that noise and blowing all that smoke. It's hard for you to go to a 5-star restaurant with your buddies when you hoping, please don't decline, please don't decline, please don't decline. So you got to start hanging around people that have what you want. And in doing so, it's going to force you to level up. It's going to force you to level up. They say all the time that once the mind has been stretched and expanded, it can't go back to the same stinking thinking. So your job is to purposely let your mind be expanded on such a level that you don't have a desire to go back to the same stinking thinking. Like you should be angry going to bed knowing that this is the life God designed me to have, and I'm settling for this life over here. You got to, no one's going to force you to do it. You got to do it on your own. It's like a diet. If you want that six-pack to pop out, no one's going to force you to eat the right foods or give up the wrong foods. You got to make the decision of why you want it, and the key word is why. It's not how. It's why you want it. When you give an address to a GPS, you don't ask the GPS, how are we going to get there? You just know why I want to get there, and the GPS does the rest. This works the same exact way. Stop asking about the how-to. The how-to is not important. Focus on the why, and the how-to will figure itself out.
Okay, awesome. So we've talked about plugging in an address,
stay focused,
and clarity. So what and then what's next?
So the next thing is about connection. The next thing is about connection. And this is why this is super important. You know, when you put an address in the GPS will ping a local cell phone tower. That tower locates a satellite in outer space. And as long as I have a strong enough Wi-Fi signal, I'm going to get instructions anywhere I want to go. The key is, as long as I'm connected and got a strong enough Wi-Fi signal. So the question I ask most people, who do you need to strategically connect with in this season, post-2020, that's going to represent the tools needed to get you to your finish line? In other words, who are the coaches you need to connect with? Who are the mentors you need to connect with? What type of new education do you specifically need to have? Napoleon Hill's one of my favorite authors. He said, education doesn't make you successful. He says specialized knowledge makes you successful. Education will make me rich if I'm a contestant on Jeopardy and Alice Trebek asks me, what's the daily double? A lot of the education I got in elementary school and high school has never made me any real money. Specialized knowledge in real estate and speaking and stocks and things like that, that's what's made me money. So when I talk about the form of connections, who do I need to connect with? Where they can download, if I have the mental bandwidth to take it all in, who do I need to connect with that's going to help me get that destination I put in the GPS? We're talking coaches, mentors, education, organizations, okay? And things of that nature.
So I guess that would lead us to, well I guess in terms of the connection, you would have to, you'd have to actually like seek out those people just like you would when you're seeking out the creating a vision board. You'd have to say, okay, well, who's the top 5 speakers, inspirational speakers, you know, so, and then when it happens, then decide on which person I want to mentor, right?
That's exactly it. There are a lot of top level speakers out there in the game. That doesn't mean they're going to be a good mentor for me based on my direction, what address to put inside my GPS. A lot of folks don't realize when I started this journey close to 20 years ago, I wasn't speaking breakthrough success. I wasn't talking motivation, inspiration, and leadership. I started out this game speaking real estate investing, how to flip houses to make money. I just realized that there was a higher calling on my life. I was speaking in front of crowds. I was getting audience applause. I was making money doing it, but I lacked fulfillment. And that means that even though I put an address in the GPS, I wasn't going towards my intended address. What I mean is this. If I want to go to 4200 Smith Street, right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, I got to put the right zip code in. Because in Cincinnati, there are 5 Smith Streets that I know off the top of my head. And each one is in a different neighborhood. One's in an upper echelon neighborhood. One's in what we call a war zone. One's in a bread and butter neighborhood. And if I just put the address in without clarity of the zip code, I can easily find myself at the wrong address. So what I have to do with my GPS is tweak the address. I want to speak, but I want to speak to what industry? Who am I called to impact? Who am I called to elevate? And who am I called to impress myself upon? So you got to be clear about the address. If you think, number one, you're going to get the intended result and get to your intended destination. But yeah, the connections are super important. Again, you have to know where you're going. Just because it looks good for you doesn't mean it is good for you. And you can't hit a target that you're not aimed at. You can't hit a target you're not aimed at.
Okay. Now, before we get into dead zone or relocating, was there anything else you want to add? Okay, let's move into the dead zone because in theory it's obvious what dead zones are. You know what I'm saying? Because like you get into the space where like with a GPS where it'll cut off, it'll stop talking to you, or it'll get these great pauses. And I'm thinking, well, do I need to turn left? Do I need to veer off? I'm at a split on the interstate, and it's got, you know, straight, left, right. Okay, we got.
Speaking of dead zone.
Speaking of dead zone. Speaking of dead zone. Perfect. Right. Perfect timing. But make that applicable in life in terms of the dead zone, because that one to me was I understand it in theory, especially like when you're driving on the interstate. This is very clear. But in life, how do I anticipate a dead zone or recognize a dead zone or navigate, like you say, around it?
Okay. So here's the reality. We don't know when dead zones are going to pop up. We have no clue when dead zones are going to pop up. I currently have service through T-Mobile, and I remember when I just woke up one day and said my cell phone ain't working. And then I jumped on Facebook, and everybody had T-Mobile said our service ain't working. And then like the next day was Sprint, and after that was Verizon. And that was unplanned for. So there's some dead zones we just got to understand. For a lot of people, the year 2020 was a 365-day long dead zone where businesses got shut down. I got 2 degrees, but the government said I'm non-essential, so I don't have a job. I'm depending on a $1,200 government check to make it through. We got situations where folks have been hospitalized or unfortunately passed away because of COVID-19. So there's some dead zones you can't prepare for, but there's some dead zones that we're aware about. In Cincinnati, Ohio, I'm blessed to know where some of the major dead zones are. So if I'm doing an important interview, like I'm doing with you guys, and I'm in my car, and I know there's a dead zone at the bottom of that hill, I'm going to just park my car at the top of the hill, finish the interview, and then go through them off the phone, because there's no sense in me dropping the call and trying to pick you guys back up. So let's talk about dead zones in general, because number one, once you hit a dead zone, you got to get your bearings back under it. You got to get your bearings back under you. You got to be focused again on what address went in the GPS, all right? Because remember, while the GPS is on the glitz and not working, it's up to you in that moment to remember, what was the address? Where am I going to? You can't afford to have amnesia when you go into a dead zone. The problem I see with most of us are dead zones come in the form of family and friends. Just because they blood does not mean they got your best interest at heart. You got some family and friends you've been telling your goals and dreams to for years, and every time you tell them what you're trying to do, what you're going to accomplish, what you achieve, you can believe, they come in giving you 25 reasons why you can't do it, but can't give you one reason why you can. And if you don't leave that dead zone immediately, you'll start to believe it. And now you'll be less aggressive after the pursuit of your own personal level of greatness, because now you decided to hang outside the dead zone. For some people, the dead zone's the job. I'm speaking not long-term telling people to quit your 9 to 5. I don't want a bunch of your viewers and listeners come after me saying, Karim said, quit my job. I'm not telling you that. But if your job is a dead zone, meaning that I'm spending 40 hours a week of my life, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, spending my time watering somebody else's goals and dreams, and I'm spending no time watering my own,
right,
that's a dead zone. Because my dream can't grow unless I put some time, effort, and energy into it. For some people, dead zone's the level of education. And I'm going to say this twofold. In order for you to go into your wealthy place, you have to have the right education for it, which means I have to study some stuff. Most people create massive success after high school, after college, because they're picking up education that the school system ain't trying to teach you. The school system's really good at plugging you into a system that they designed to keep you working for 65 years of your life. But we see in this new day, age, and era that millennials ain't even going for that now. Millennials creating businesses out their backyards. They're using technology like the cell phone to create more money in months than most people create in years. So I have to be privy to the level of education and what I may need to pick up, because what I may be sitting on for the last 10, 15, 20 years may be so obsolete, it's a living, breathing dead zone for me. And the other part of this is we got some people that have spent their time acquiring their college degrees. They got that 2-year degree, they got that 4-year degree, or maybe they went back and got 2 degrees. But they know they're not happy. They know they're not fulfilled at what they're doing. They know God has called them to do this, but because they spent 50, 60, 70 grand paying off student debt to Sally Mae, and all my family and friends showed up to watch me throw my cap in the air, I'm afraid to walk away from it, because what would they say? What would they think? I spent so much time on this. Put it this way, the more time you have invested in something, the harder it is for you to walk away from it. The more time you have invested in something, the harder it is for you to walk away from it. And that's on the positive end and the negative end. We all got friends we know we should have cut loose a long time ago. But since we've been kicking it for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you start to justify and make excuses why they ain't that bad. If those actions that really pissed you off took place within the first 30 days of the relationship, you cut that joker off real fast. You blocked on every social media channel. You can't get through the cell phones. If I see you coming, I'm not going to give you, as African Americans, we got the coolest what's up in the world. We ain't got to shake your hand. We ain't got to say hi. We got the what's up head nod. We'll see another person go, so you won't even get a what's up. I'm just going to walk right past you, not even think about you, right? So those are some of the dead zones we deal with. And one other one I want to throw in there are organizations. Over the last 3 years, I have probably divorced about 15 organizations. And the reason being is I noticed that when I went to the organization, I was in growth mode. I was being fed. But somehow, after a couple of years, those organizations were no longer feeding me. I was just showing up because it became habit, ritual, and routine. I'm going to say that again. It became a habit, a ritual, and a routine. I'm just going because I know I'm going to see Fred, I know I'm going to see Bob, I know I'm going to see Raheem, I know I'm going to see all the people that I'm cool with, but I'm not growing. And if I'm not growing, I'm wasting my most valuable component of success, which is my time. I can't get that back. And so for some people, those dead zones are in the form of the organizations that you keep showing up to routinely day after day, and you ain't grew no new leaves, no new branches, ain't no new fruit busted out your harvest in the season. Why are you in that dead zone? Why are you still hanging out in that dead zone? So one is awareness of the dead zone, which means I have to have a reflection moment. And then two, I need to get back on track, which is why I have the connections I gave earlier, the coaches, the mentors, the right organizations, the right education. And the thing I left out, I should have added in earlier, accountability partners. Who's holding me accountable in the season? When I use my GPS talks to me. That's my accountability partner. Let me make a wrong turn and watch that GPS point out. Turn right. Make a U-turn. All right? So who's my accountability partner in this season is going to help me reflect, retract, and get back focused on where I'm supposed to go in this season and get out of that dead zone.
Okay, awesome. We got 2 more to cover, so let's go into number 5.
Right, which is but we're going into relocating, right? The next one is relocating. And then of course last is checking the history, going back and checking the history, right? Right.
There we go.
We were prepared.
You done your homework.
So talk a little bit about recalculating. How do you get back on track once you get?
So the thing with me is this: the way I learned this powerful lesson is I was in an altercation where I was driving my car to a party, and some young boys decided on the highway to discard this giant guzzler cup Slurpee. And they threw it out the window at 70 plus miles per hour. The problem being is the cup caught the wind caught the lid, and in about 3 seconds, my brand new detailed Porsche convertible was covered in purple Slurpee. You talk about a white Porsche with purple Slurpee all over top of it. Ooh. And a high-speed chase ensued. I love the Lord. Don't get me wrong. But I lost a little bit of...
Man, we're going to have to ask you to say it again.
Right there. It's perfect now.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So what ends up happening is this, guys. I find myself on a high-speed chase. I'm literally going 80 miles per hour on the highway chasing these kids. We circling around semi-trucks. Welcome to Kentucky. I mean, I'm so distracted and so angry that I forgot before this all took place. I was actually headed to my buddy's place, right? And so I get knee-deep into the heart of Kentucky and probably about a good 20 minutes inside. And then finally something says, let them go. And I'm arguing with myself. We've all been in that situation where we start to talk to ourselves out loud and say, wait a minute, we ain't got to let them go. We can bury, this is Kentucky. There are a lot of creeks and woods. I can bury every single body. No one's going to find them for years, right? But I finally just let the kids go. And as I pull up to the side of the road, I take a look at my watch, and I'm well past time for the destination I was trying to get to, the party I was trying to attend. And so I got to make a decision. At this point, do I go to the party late, or do I just go home and call it quits? And I decided I was just going to go home. I was so frustrated. The wrinkles are creeping up my face. I had the little forehead wrinkles up here, getting mad. And I was ready to go home and call it quits. And so what happens is I put the address inside my GPS to make it to my house. And as I reached for the GPS, something powerful happened. The GPS kept saying, recalculating, 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 recalculating. Even though I let these kids distract me in this high-speed chase across across a whole state line, 2 states, the GPS had never given up on the intended address I put in at the beginning of the journey. And so I took that as faith that I should go ahead and make my way to that final destination place. So what I'm simply saying is this. 2020 has been a year where a lot of people put an address in their GPS, their life's GPS, at the beginning of the journey. And unfortunately, COVID-19 and 3 months worth of government shutdown put some people off the beaten pathway. Some people forgot about their goals and dreams. Some people just put their goals and dreams on the shelf. Some people locked them in a box and said, I ain't touching this to the year 2025. What I'm saying is this. When life gives you something that you didn't ask for and you lose your way, do you reflect on the fact of what address you put inside the GPS at the beginning of the journey? Because oftentimes we think there's only one way to our fantastic finish when God can set us up to give us multiple different pathways to get there, multiple different streams of income, multiple different connections, and multiple different opportunities. Bruce Lee said it best. He said, be formless like water If you take water and pull water down the side of the mountain, it's not going to be selective. It's not going to be picky. It's going to take the quickest, fastest way to get to the bottom of the mountain, which means there's ultimately many different ways to get to my destination, as long as I'm not locked in on just one. So for the person that had this goal and dream they gave up on, I'm going to challenge you to take a look at your life's GPS, take a good look at the addresses you put in there at the beginning of it, and see if the address is trying to recalculate. There are, again, more millionaires being made right now thanks to technology, because everything got shut down, than ever before. Can I take my business online? Can I adjust the type of service I give? Can I take my educational level online versus having to physically show up and see someone on a regular basis? There's so many different ways to get what we want, but we have to be willing to allow ourselves to recalculate not only our thoughts, our goals, and most importantly, our dreams.
Finally, because we're pushing close to your time. I know you have a couple of appointments. Finally, is
checking that history log.
Checking the history log.
Checking the history log.
What's the importance of checking the history log?
Checking the history log. Now, the reason why this is so important is because a history log gives me a great idea of where you have been spending a majority of your time at, right? So I got a friend of mine who got caught a while back cheating on his significant other. And a lot of times I ask the audience when I give this presentation out loud, I'll say, how do you think this man got caught? And I'll get all types of answers. Hands will go up all over the auditorium. One person will say, well, she was on his Facebook. She was in his Instagram. She saw the DMs. He had lipstick on his collar. He smelled like perfume. She found dinner receipts. And they're all wrong. They're all wrong. I tell everybody, I said, this whole presentation is about the GPS, guys, about the GPS. And so what happened is simply this. My buddy worked at a job that never gave overtime. When I say never, I mean it never gave overtime. And so out of nowhere, he comes home and tells his wife they picked up this ginormous client, paying their company a lot of money. And because of this, that client became top priority. That means everybody on the floor has mandatory overtime. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. There's going to be some weekends I come home late, some weekends I'm gone, some nights I'm coming home late, and she didn't think anything about it. Now, the wife didn't work. And so they had 2 cars in the household, a family SUV and a sedan. And depending on the workload for the day, that would dictate what car is being taken. And so for the last 30 days, he's been taking the family SUV. Now, what she did, pastime, she liked to visit little antique stores, little boutiques. She liked buying, old retro type things. And a few months back, there was a store she went to just on accident, just happened to be in the neighborhood, saw it as she rolled past, went inside, found a lot of stuff she liked. And she decided months down the road, present day, she wanted to go back and visit the place. She couldn't remember the name of it, though. So she called a lot of her friends. They were in the hobby. And they go, we never been there before. We never seen it. We don't know the place. She jumped online and tried to Google it based on the neighborhood. Couldn't find it. After hours of trying to figure out what's the name of this place and ready to give up, she decides, let me go inside the car. Because I remember when I saw it, I put the address inside the GPS to kind of remember where I came from to get back home. Yeah. Your face said it all. Yeah. So she pulled up the history log. And the address is indeed there. It's there. Along with a lot of addresses she's never seen before. See, there are addresses to a bunch of expensive, nice 5-star restaurants she knows she's never been to. There are a couple addresses to a couple fun dating places. I'm talking, putt golf and a couple movie theaters, things like that. And she definitely know for the last couple months she ain't been there. And in case the listeners and viewers haven't figured it out, there were a couple of hotel addresses that popped up, a couple really, really nice, expensive ones that she definitely had not been to. Now, for all the women watching this right now, I'm gonna leave the men out. For all the women watching this right now, if you think I'm giving you this, say you can go home and say, I heard this powerful motivational speaker by the name of Karim Ellis, and he taught me how to catch my man cheating 101. That is not the reason we're having this conversation right now. That's not the reason at all. What I'm saying to all your listeners, all your viewers, everyone who follows you on a regular basis is simply this. If God granted me the ability to walk through this screen right now and ask you to show me your life's GPS, so I can just take a look at the history log, would I find the history log full of addresses that are taking you to your destination, What I find that literal the address is taking you to other people's destination. See, the number one reason why people don't achieve dynamic success is not because they don't wake up and set an address in the GPS. I'm thoroughly convinced 90% of the people on this planet have some sort of idea what their goal, their vision, where they want to go. It's not because they don't move with clarity. I believe that most people got some idea of what their goal and destination looks like. It's not because they're not making the proper connections. They don't have access to coaches and mentors in the right organizations, education. It's not because they spend all their time hanging out with their drunk buddies in a dead zone. You know, their loser friends in the dead zone. I don't believe it's because people aren't willing to recalculate. I think that you bump your head against the wall enough times, you will find out that I got to go a different route. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing day in and day out and somehow thinking I'm going to get a different result. I believe the number one reason why people don't achieve dynamic success, they spend all their time, effort, and energy cheating on their goals and dreams, pursuing everybody else's agenda. I said it earlier, time's your most valuable resource. We got to be very careful what we spend it on, who we spend it on, and where we spend it at. And for a lot of people, we trade that valuable resource every single day. We make the physical decision to get up and put someone else's address inside our GPS and spend 40 hours a week chasing it versus sit down and saying, okay, God, you gave me this one life. You gave me a gift, a talent, and expertise. You give me a vision, a goal, and a dream. What does that address look like? And can I persistently pursue my goals and dreams on a regular basis? If folks can do that, if folks can understand the magnitude behind this, and they apply these principles I just gave you on a regular basis, they will have no problem in 2021 hearing these powerful words.
You have arrived at your destination.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Now, hey, that was a good closing.
So how do people find this book? How do they find you?
Absolutely. So the book is actually on Amazon.com right now. So if they do a search for either Karim R. Ellis, and that's Karim, middle initial R, and I got to spell it because folks will butcher my name. I've been called Karim, Carmel. So it's Karim R. Ellis. Or they can type in GPS My Success, and they'll see the cover of the book with this handsome guy on the front. I know the lighting is a little bit bright. Try to pull it back just a little bit so you guys can see it, okay?
That's perfect.
So you can find it that way. But what I like to do for your listeners when this broadcast, since one of the things Les as a mentor has taught me, he said his favorite number is the number 7. So what I'm willing to do is this, for your listeners, the first 7 people, I'm cutting off at the 7. The first 7 people that send an email to coach me, the word coach me at KarimEllis.com, I'll send the first 7 people a copy of this book for free in e-form.
Wow.
Thank you, man. That's awesome.
Hey, thank you,
Someone will watch this in 24 hours afterwards. Like, hey, I was there. No, you're not one of the 7.
So what's that email address again?
The email address is coachme, COACHME, coachme at KarimEllis.com. And for the first 7, I'll hook them up with a free copy of this by e-form. The book's only $20 on Amazon. So if you can't afford $20, you got other problems in your life. You got other problems with GPS. I'm just being honest.
We certainly appreciate that, Karim.
Absolutely.
In closing, did you have any nuggets or any other information besides the book that you wanted to get out? Before you answer that, I wanted to say, to me, when I saw this, one thing that impressed me about you was it just, to me, wasn't a book. To me, the book was just a side note. It just happened to be a fruit of the life. To me,
yes,
the fruit of the life. So for the people that don't kind of understand what I'm saying, what I mean is that this is the way this gentleman lives and teaches, but the book is just speaks to that, basically.
Yes,
right. So
absolutely.
Where can they find some of your speeches? Are you on YouTube or social media?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm on YouTube. Actually, I'm on every social media channel. And this day and age, like I said, you have to be everywhere. So they can find me on YouTube under Karim Ray Ellis. Or actually, if they Google Karim R. Ellis and do videos, all that stuff's gonna pop up. If they Google Karim R. Ellis and then hit video on Google, everything I got's gonna pop up. I mean, you name it, it's gonna be there. I'm on Instagram under Karim Ellis 1. And the newest app right now is the Clubhouse app. And it's funny because I got notifications going off in the background. And Clubhouse is a very, very powerful teaching tool that I've been utilizing this week, where I've just been giving away the game literally for free. Some of my most powerful nuggets of wisdom and keynotes that I've been paid to give to organizations. I've been giving that stuff back for free. The idea is this, guys. We want to give value, but we come in seed form. And the seed can only transform into what it's designed to do when it's been properly planted. And so my job as a speaker and a breakthrough coach and strategist is to make sure that I give enough seed from me to folks around me. They take that seed and they decide to plant it, and they produce a harvest of wisdom, intelligence, knowledge, and most importantly, they find their own way to whatever their God-given destined purpose is designed to be. So if they have the Clubhouse app, they want to search for Karim Ellis on Clubhouse, because we've been going real strong in there. On Clubhouse, you can pull other guests in and do things sort of like this, except it's more audio than anything else. We've been having a blast on Clubhouse. So Facebook, Clubhouse, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you just do a search for Karim Ellis, Karim R. Ellis, you'll find me. I'm literally ever at this point in time.
Okay. Well, we certainly thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. Absolutely. Obviously, you're worth every second of it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Listen, y'all done made me smile, put the smile on my face so bright. Only my wife can do that. Y'all gonna get me in trouble.
Hey, man, thank you a lot, man. Thank you. We really appreciate it. We really, really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys as well. My close, I tell everybody, remember, guys, you have been empowered to win. Stop playing to lose, and all that you do in 2021 and beyond, be blessed.
Much continued success, Karim. Thank you.
Yes, and much success.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alden.
And I'm Calden.
Thanks for following us. You can find us on Facebook at Good Twin Bad Twin Unleashed, and also on Instagram at Good Twin Bad Twin Unleashed.
Now, don't forget to watch our YouTube page and make sure you like and share our videos. Also, go to our Facebook page. Check out our t-shirt line. We have several wonderful t-shirts there that helps us to continue to provide good footage for you. Thank you.